This video is brought to you by soccerloco.com. Be sure to use coupon code SR4UX10 at checkout to receive 10% off any order of $75 or more. Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you an unboxing plus on-feet video of the Adidas Nitrocharge 1.0 CrazyLight. Now, as you can see, it does come in a drawer-style box with some graphics that actually match the shoes themselves. Open up the drawer, and on the inside, you can see you get a couple of different extras to go along with the shoes. The first extra is a set of comfort insoles to go along with the lightweight ones already in the shoes. It's pretty much the same as the lightweight insoles, same thickness of foam, same construction overall. The only difference is going to be that the comfort insoles feature a synthetic suede lining on top as opposed to a mesh lining that you'll see on the lightweight ones in just a second. They also include an extra set of laces, lime green laces to go along with the white ones already on the shoes. I have swapped them in, so you'll get a look at those in just a second as well. And then they also include a string bag. The string bag is made out of a mesh material, open mesh as you guys can see, lime green in color, blue strings, blue Nitrocharge CrazyLight branding, and your Adidas logo there on the front as well. So other than that, all you're going to find inside the box are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the CrazyLight version of the Nitrocharge 1.0, something we've never seen before from Adidas. Now this shoe has a retail price of $250 US, so it's an extra $50 over the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, which normally retails for $200. So to some people that is just simply not going to be worth it, but if you are looking for an ultralight variation of the Nitrocharge 1.0, perhaps this may appeal to you. In today's video, we're going to talk about what all those major differences are between the standard Nitrocharge and the CrazyLight Nitrocharge, talk tech specs, of course how they fit, what the sizing is like, and basically everything you need to know as far as details are concerned. If you guys are interested in ordering a pair of these for yourself, like I mentioned, they retail for $250 US, but if you check out the review page on my website, linked down below in the description, you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you can pick these up below their $250 retail price. So if you're interested in a pair, again, that link is down below in the description. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off with what is arguably the most important factor of the new CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0, I figured it'd be cool to weigh it in versus a standard Nitrocharge just to see how big of a weight difference there actually is between the two models. Now there have been some statistics floating around online where some places are saying that the CrazyLight Nitrocharge only weighs 10 to 20 grams less than the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, and I'm here to tell you that that is not the truth at all. 10 to 20 grams would be an insignificant amount of weight, and the weight difference, like I mentioned, is much more significant than that. So I'm going to turn on the scale here. Keep in mind that these are both in brand new condition and both the size 9 US. This is of course the standard Nitrocharge. This is the CrazyLight variation. We'll start with a standard Nitrocharge, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.2 ounces, which is pretty light. The main goal behind this particular design was to be light, but at the same time very solid, very responsive, and also fairly protective, which you definitely get with the standard Nitrocharge 1.0 model. We'll take that off the scale, we'll throw on the CrazyLight variation, and you can see that they weigh in at a significantly less weight of 6.6 ounces. So they are almost 2 ounces lighter than the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, kind of very close to the F50 Adizero to a certain extent, but very, very competitive as far as lightweight shoes go, very similar to something like the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10 as well. So if you're looking for that ultra lightweight feel with something that has somewhat of a sensation of the Nitrocharge 1.0, a very, very responsive feel is what I'm expecting from this particular shoe, then the CrazyLight Nitrocharge is definitely something to keep your eye on, because to me, it's a very attractive option, and I like the combination of features they've incorporated on this particular shoe, and they've managed to do so while still keeping it very, very lightweight, which is definitely a good thing. As far as the colorway is concerned, the Nitrocharge 1.0 certainly offers a very bold combination of colors and graphics. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, and that's really the theme I think Adidas has gone with the latest CrazyLight releases. Now, as far as the pattern itself is concerned, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be an animal, if it's supposed to represent something. If you know the answer to that question, leave a comment down below. If you think it looks like a particular animal, leave a comment down below. I haven't really read or heard anything about what the pattern is supposed to represent, represent. All I know is that it looks a little bit funky. Some people, like I said, are going to love it. Some people are absolutely going to hate it. You can see it does have what appears to be an eye on both the lateral and the medial side. So your shoes do have eyes on this particular colorway. You have a white base with this blue pattern. Again, I'm not sure if this pattern is supposed to represent something, but like I said, it's blue all the way back from the heel into the forefoot. Once you get to the forefoot where the energy sling is situated, you can see that that is a rubber material, but it's clear, so you can see right through it. The underside shows where that pattern transitions from a light blue into a darker green, and then eventually into the lime green that you see in the forefoot and toe box area, which I think looks pretty good. I like the fade effect, and I like that you can see it right through the energy sling element, which is a pretty cool idea and good design element if you ask me. You have this little streak of blue that continues through, and again, I like the combination of colors they've used here. It's bright, but at the same time not too flashy. It more or less stands out just because it's a really interesting pattern across the entire upper. As you guys can see, I did swap in the extra green laces so you can see what they look like. The white laces look good. The green laces also look really good. I think the white laces would be my preference out of the two, but I guess leave your opinions down below in the comment section. You can see that you do have a white heel liner. The actual insole does feature the same pattern as the outside of the shoe, which you guys will see a little bit later in the video. Your Nitrocharge 1.0 branding is right there on the back of the heel, as you would normally have on a pair of Nitrocharges. And then of course you have the white Adizero Sprint frame with clear studs in the heel and lime green studs in the forefoot. So definitely not an over-the-top colorway as far as the actual colors that they've used, but it is over the top because of the pattern that they've incorporated on the shoe. You can see that it doesn't have the chrome overlays with the actual Adidas stripes. It's just kind of covered up by the pattern. It's punched out in the upper, but it's not completely evident that this is an Adidas shoe at first glance, unless you really know your stuff, of course. But again, definitely an interesting shoe. Leave your opinions on it down below in the comments. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why or why not? As far as the upper is concerned, this is where you're going to see some pretty significant differences between the standard Nitrocharge 1.0 and the CrazyLight variation. I think the changes they have made are actually going to be quite positive when it comes to touch, but can be viewed as a negative thing when you consider what the core of the Nitrocharge design was all about, being lightweight, not overly bulky, very responsive, and protective. You're not going to get that protective sensation from the CrazyLight variation, and I'll explain why. Now with the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, you have two parts to the upper. The front portion, basically from the forefoot forward, you have your hybrid touch synthetic material with, of course, the rubber energy sling that covers that up. That is still the case with the CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0, although I would say that the hybrid touch synthetic they've used here is a little bit thinner, definitely not as thin as what you're going to find on a standard F50 Adizero, but definitely thinner in comparison to this shoe. You can see it does not have that texturing that you have on the medial side of the forefoot like you would have on the standard Nitrocharge. Again, not too big of a concern there. And you do have your energy sling, which is clear as opposed to solid in color, but I don't expect that to perform or feel much different than what you're going to find on a standard Nitrocharge 1.0. Now moving back to the standard Nitrocharge, from the forefoot back, this is part of what makes the Nitrocharge a Nitrocharge. It features a protective mesh upper, this very kind of rugged Adidas stripe that provides a little bit of additional grip on top of what would normally be a pretty slick protective mesh kind of plasticky type of material. Then you have those built-in pads going around the sides of the ankle and covering the Achilles area of the foot. You have none of that with the CrazyLight. It's been replaced by straight up hybrid touch. You can see that the actual Adidas stripes have been punched out, so it does have its branding on the shoe, but there's no actual extra material here. It's just punched out just so you can see the Adidas stripes. And again, it has a consistent thickness across the entire upper, one single material, as opposed to combining hybrid touch and protective mesh like you'd find on a standard Nitrocharge. And of course, the extra padding going around the side and back of the shoe is also not incorporated on the CrazyLight variation. So again, when it comes to touch, this one is definitely going to feel a lot thinner, less bulky because of the thinner materials and just kind of more flexible materials that they've incorporated here. Again, when it comes to touch, I'm expecting the CrazyLight to be a shoe that I prefer over the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, but it really depends what you're looking for. I think that for the Nitrocharge, it appeals to a lot of people because of the protective qualities that it has to offer while still being relatively non-bulky and lightweight, whereas the CrazyLight is all about being as light as possible. So you can somewhat understand why they've stripped away all of those protective elements. But the one element they have maintained that I'm very, very happy about is that energy sling technology. It wraps the forefoot, it works directly with the lacing system. It's a rubber strip that when you pull the laces tight, it locks your foot in place, and it doesn't allow this area of the upper to move or stretch in any way at all. So again, when your foot's inside the shoe and you are making those hard lateral cuts, you get an instant response from the shoe because there's no rollover whatsoever in the upper. It's very, very sturdy on this particular area of the foot. And essentially what I like about the CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0 is it reminds me a lot of an F50 Adizero with its hybrid touch synthetic upper, but they've also incorporated that energy sling technology, so you're going to have the benefits of a thin hybrid touch upper that you'd find on an F50 with the responsiveness that you get from the energy sling shared from the Nitrocharge 1.0. So to me, the CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0 is really a good hybrid, a clean hybrid of the Nitrocharge and the F50 Adizero, which I'm very excited to try out. Moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, there are obviously some pretty significant differences between the Nitrocharge 1.0 and the CrazyLight variation. With the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, you have a variation of the sprint frame, so it is a one-piece sole plate and heel counter entirely made from plastic. The actual heel counter is a little bit more solid on the Nitrocharge than what you're going to find on other models from Adidas with the sprint frame construction, most notably the F50 Adizero. But again, it's not something that you're really going to notice that much when you're wearing the shoe. You may notice it if you get kicked really hard in the heel, but for most people it's not going to make much of a difference. The rear portion is made from a very solid plastic. It is MyCoach compatible, and then of course you do have your energy pulse system, which is supposed to be a stiffer material in the forefoot area that is supposed to be more responsive when you are accelerating and pushing off in the shoe. Is it one of those features that is truly noticeable in the Nitrocharge 1.0? The honest answer is no. It's more of a marketing scheme, and again, it's not going to make or break your experience with the Nitrocharge shoe. And then of course you have your all triangular stud pattern like we found on the original Nitrocharge and many of the F50 Adizero models. Now with the CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0, they've incorporated the standard F50 Adizero sprint frame. So again, one-piece sole plate and heel counter entirely made from plastic. Does have the rounded off external heel counter. Like I mentioned, not quite as solid as the standard Nitrocharge. Solid plastic sole plate construction, your 4 triangular studs in the heel, the MyCoach compatibility, of course, in the middle, and then you get, of course, the new bladed stud pattern, which is featured on the F50 Adizero line, which I was personally hoping would be featured on the latest Nitrocharge model as well, but unfortunately it wasn't. I think most people at this point in time prefer this stud pattern over that one, so to me personally, this is a nice improvement over the standard Nitrocharge 1.0, but at the end of the day, it is down to personal preference. They both do perform the part on firm natural grass playing surfaces. This one is going to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of how it's going to feel different from that one. But again, personal preference is really the key here. Some people are going to like that one. Some people are going to like this one. You get that little toe pick stud right there at the end as well, which I thought is a nice little feature. But again, not going to make or break your experience with the shoe. And the one thing that I can say about the CrazyLight variation that I know for sure I will like better than the standard Nitrocharge 1.0 is that this sole plate does not feature the energy pulse technology in the forefoot. So it's a little bit more flexible, especially once you break it in, and it's just going to make for a more natural running experience versus what you get from the energy pulse on the Nitrocharge 1.0. So again, it's really a matter of whether you prefer something a little bit stiffer or something a little bit thinner, more lightweight and flexible, which is what you're going to get with the CrazyLight version of the Nitrocharge versus the standard model. So again, it's kind of up to you as to whether or not you prefer the standard or the CrazyLight, but I think for most people, honestly, the CrazyLight variation does seem a little bit more appealing when it comes to the sole plate and stud pattern. Alright, here's a look at the CrazyLight Nitrocharge 1.0 on feet, and I have to say that I'm surprised with how these fit, but definitely in a good way. They definitely are reminiscent to the standard Nitrocharge 1.0 with the sensation that you get in the forefoot from the rubber energy sling, especially when you pull the laces tight. But for the most part, it's very, very comfortable. In comparison to a standard Nitrocharge 1.0, it definitely feels thinner, less bulky because of that as well. It's more flexible, and again, it's just not as stiff as what you find from the Nitrocharge 1.0, especially from right out of the box. So as far as comfort is concerned, I'm really, really pleased with these. To a certain extent as well, it does remind me a little bit of the F50 Adizero, but certainly a lot wider in terms of how it fits. I was expecting this to be a pretty tight-fitting shoe, and that isn't really definitely the case. It definitely has a snug fit, but it certainly isn't as narrow as something like an F50. So as long as you don't just have really, really wide feet where you need some stretch out of the upper, these should be suitable for most foot types. Also keep in mind that in the forefoot area where you do have that rubber energy sling, it's not going to allow that area of the upper to stretch. So the way they fit from right out of the box is presumably how they're going to fit for the majority of their lifespan. But again, these will be suitable for a very, very wide variety of foot types. As far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size for the best possible fit, just like a standard pair of Nitrocharge 1.0s. Alright guys, that's it for my unboxing of the Adidas Nitrocharge 1.0 CrazyLight, and I have to say, while I don't think this shoe is going to appeal to too many people, one, because it's $50 more than a standard Nitrocharge 1.0, and two, it doesn't necessarily have most of the features that you would expect from a Nitrocharge 1.0, such as being very solid and very, very protective, but what it does have to offer is an interesting combination of features that make it particularly attractive, if you ask me. I like that it's a thinner hybrid touch variation on the upper. I like the inclusion of the energy sling in the forefoot. To me, that is the defining feature of the Nitrocharge 1.0 anyways, and I prefer the lighter, more flexible sprint frame that they've incorporated from the Adizero, and of course you get the Adizero stud pattern as well, which I also prefer over the standard Nitrocharge 1.0. So yes, this is not a Nitrocharge in the sense that it's going to be very solid and very protective, but it is going to be very, very light, very, very responsive, and offer a clean barefoot touch on the ball, which is something that I think a lot of people are looking for in today's soccer cleat market. So if all that sounds good to you, this definitely seems like a shoe that should be on your list of boots to consider. With that being said, I can't wait to try these out, and of course I will follow up with more performance information in the form of videos, as well as my full written review, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you want to check out the review page on my website, you'll find the high quality images that'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person. As well, on that page you will find buy it now links with the best prices online, including exclusive SR4U coupon codes, allowing you to pick these up below their retail price. So be sure to go ahead and check that out if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave those down below in the comment section, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated as well. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. All my social media information is down below in the description. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.